Okay, so today's title is Corresponding Parts of Congruent Triangles Are Congruent. And what did I just say? Can we short that to just C, P, C, T, blah, blah, blah? No. You cannot. You can abbreviate, but I don't want just letters there because there's too many and people get confused. Okay, what do you guys remember from earlier in the week, Tuesday? If you had two triangles and they were congruent, that meant what about all of their angles? Corresponding angles were also congruent. Was that it, or was there something else that was congruent? Sides. You don't have to draw this, guys. That's why I put this covering my paper, because I just want to quickly talk about this. Sorry, I apologize. So corresponding parts are congruent. Yes or no? All right. So if I tell you, or if I can prove that these two triangles are congruent, can I say that AC is congruent to DF? Could I say that angle B is congruent to angle E? And what would your reason be in your proofs? What would your reason be on why angle A is equal to angle D, or AC is equal to or congruent to DF? Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. It's long, but yes, we have to write it. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Does that make sense? Yes? All right, this is what we're using today. The fact that if two triangles are congruent, either they give it to us or we prove it, we can then say that individual pieces, individual parts are also congruent. Got it? And what was the reason? Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are, okay. Part 1, review. Would you use SSS? What does SSS stand for? Good. SAS for side, angle side, angle side, or, nope, I'm not going to put the or just yet. Which one am I missing before I put the or? There's angle side, or angle side angle, or not enough info. And don't forget, you do always have to explain. Okay, and we're going to do more parts. I'm not going to write it all down, but we're going to name congruent triangles and congruent parts and all that good stuff. Before I continue, I want to make sure everyone recognizes which, because sometimes we're like, okay, was SAS one, was ASA one? Which ones do we not use? We don't use AAA. Angle is not one that we will ever use to prove triangles are congruent. Ever. Okay? If you have two triangles and corresponding angles are congruent, that does not mean the triangles are congruent. They might be similar, but they are not congruent. Make sense? All right, another one we do not use is SSA. Side angle, or angle side. Now, when my fourth period yesterday just giggled tremendously when they thought of this one flipped backwards. So one way to think of it, there's no AAA and there's no cussing in math, forward or backwards. Got it? There's no AAA and there's no cussing in math, forward or backwards, or no backward donkeys, however you want to think of it. Those we are not allowed to use. Not because they're bad words, but because they don't, it's not mathematically proven that you can use these to prove triangles are congruent. All right, with that being said, let's do number 1. I have this triangle here with this line going down the middle. I have A, B, C, D. All right, I'm going to give you that this is given, and that is given. Now, is this one where we have enough information, or we need to put some markings in of our own? Yes. Markings in of our own. Can you tell me which one I should mark?
The middle line.
Is it congruent to itself?
Yes.
Can you tell me why?
Because bisector.
It didn't give us anything about a bisector.
Well, it's reflecting.
Reflexive property. Reflexive property allows us to say that BD is congruent to BD. It's congruent to itself. All right, so what are we going to use? I'm going to label that one as A. Part A, which one do we use? Side, 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 angle, side, or angle, side, angle? Does everybody see that it's side, side, side? Yes or no? No? Side is congruent, this corresponding side is congruent, and that corresponding side is congruent. There's no angle markings. All right, part B, we need to name our congruent statement. Okay. Let's start with the left side. And do you want to call that ABD, DAB, BAD, ABD? A, B, D. Do I have as much freedom when I look at the right side? I do not any longer. If I went A, B, D, I have to go in that same order. So what angle corresponds with angle A? C. C and then what? B, D. Now, is it important that your second one matches your first one? If you just do A, B, D and then D, B, C, is that okay?
No.
No, it is not. You have to go in the same order. Okay, part D, we're going to name corresponding parts. Let's start with the angles. They're a little easier. Angle A. I don't know why I did D. Sorry. There is no part D. Part C. Angle A is congruent to what angle? To angle C. Angle, can I call this one up here angle B? I cannot. I have to call it angle A, B, C, or D? D, because I want the little one here. If I go A, B, D, it's the bigger one. Okay, so A, B, D is congruent to angle CBD. Is that all of them, or are there more? These down here? Can I call them angle D?
No, it's
Ang
ADB.
ADB is congruent to angle,
CDB.
thank you, CDB. All right, are those all the corresponding parts, or am I still missing the sides? Is that, I'm still missing the sides. Okay, what are my corresponding sides? Thank you. AB is congruent to CB. AD is congruent to which one?
Wait, what?
AD is congruent to
C.
CD. And BD is congruent to BD. I heard somebody whisper it. And what's the reason? Because of the reflexive property. Okay. Do you have a handful of these in homework tonight? Yeah, it's only like 2 of them, so it's not a lot. But since it does take a while, from the next few, I'm only going to do parts A and B. Do you guys have enough practice on how to do part C? Okay. Number C, this is part C here. Okay. I'm going to give you, this is X, Y, Z in the middle, and PQ at the end. And I'm going to give you this, angle X is congruent to angle P, and this is congruent to this.
Did I say PA or PQ?
Q. All right, scan through the picture. I gave you one congruent marking and one angle marking. Is that enough to use any one of these? No. Can anybody tell me which angle we can mark and why? A hand up. Yes.
Z.
Okay, be more specific because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 angles in corner Z.
Vertical.
The vertical angles. Now these two are vertical and these two are vertical. So be a little more specific. Angle Y.
One's going left and right.
The ones going left and right. Good. All right. Now, when you write them down here, is it enough to just say the angle's going left and right? No. How would you label this? Angle Y, ZX, and angle PZQ. Okay? I'm going to put those in pen just so I can keep track of those. Now, he said it. Did anybody catch why he said those were congruent? Vertical angles. Now, just vertical angles or vertical angles are congruent? Vertical angles are congruent. All right. Now, do I have enough to use one of my statements above? Yes? How many angle markings do I have?
2.
How many side markings sets do I have? 1. So do I have anything up there with 2 angles and 1 side?
Angle, side.
Angle, angle, side, or angle, side, angle. What's the difference? This one here that I'm pointing at, angle, side, angle, has the side.
Sandwich.
It's sandwiched. An angle, angle, side has the side that is not. So let's look at the side. Here are the 2 angles. Here is the side. Here are the 2 angles. Here is the side. Is that side sandwiched, yes or no?
No.
It is not. So which one did you agree on? Angle, angle, side. All right. Part B.
Did you say we're only doing A and B?
We're only doing A and B. All right, pick how you want to label your first triangle. Should we just do X, Y, Z?
Yeah.
Okay. And I put an A instead of a triangle marking. Triangle X, Y, Z is congruent to triangle. Okay. X started here. What angle is corresponding with X in this triangle? P.
So it's QZ.
And then Q, Z. That makes sense? Yes or no?
Is it corresponding with it, or is it congruent with it?
The 2 triangles are congruent. The corresponding parts are also congruent. So yes, the corresponding parts are congruent. All right, let's try one more, maybe 2 more, and this time we're only going to do part A. Are you ready? This one we're only going to do part A. Y, Z, A, P, Q. Now that's all I've given you. Is this exactly like the last one? Does the picture look similar?
Yeah.
But the markings I gave you, are those the same or different? Different. This I gave you one set of sides and 1 set of angles. This one I gave you 2 set of sides. Should I put an angle marking in there? Here and here, and why are they congruent? Vertical angles are congruent. All right. Now, is this another one where I have a double side and 1 angle? Yes? Now, the last one I also had 2 A's and an S, 2 angles and a side. Do you see that? 2 sides and an angle, 2 sides and an angle. So is it going to be angle, angle, side like the last one?
No. Side
Side, angle, side, because this one I have 2 sides and that one I had 2 angles, yes or no? And on this one the angle is what? Sandwiched in between, side, angle, side. All right, and that's all we're going to write for this one. We'll do our last one and then we'll move on to some proofs. Okay, I'm going to keep getting these bow ties. P, C, A, E, D. All right. We did this one in notes the last Tuesday or whenever block day. It was either notes or in homework. I don't remember which one it was. Does anybody remember what? First off, are these angles congruent? For the same reason over there, vertical angles are congruent. Can I use side angle side? Do you think the most common wrong answer for that one is side angle side? Can anybody explain why it's not? Yes.
Because the opposite sides aren't congruent.
Good. It should be corresponding from one to the other, or one to the other, whichever way they're corresponding. Is that the case here? No. They're congruent, but to itself in the same triangle. So that's an isosceles triangle, and that's an isosceles triangle. Does that help me, even if they share one angle? No. So what do we put? Not enough. Not enough info. All right. Are we good? Okay. I'm going to move on to approve. Who's this for?
It's from Miss Motion to bring to you.
From who?
Miss O'Neill.
Okay. Thank you. Do any of you guys know who O'Neill is? Will you take this to her, please? Okay. Okay, we're ready. Number 5? Oh,
Don't read the note.
what was that?
I said don't read the note.
Did he read it?
I don't know.
Part 2, examples. Number 1. Given AB is congruent to AC and M is the midpoint of BC, thank you, prove, and what do I want to prove? That angle AMB is congruent to angle AMC. And I'm going to draw the picture. If you're not ready, then just draw it when you're done writing all the words down. Okay. Now, why did I mark AB is congruent to AC? Why was I allowed to mark that? It was given information. And when you get the worksheet, those given informations are typically marked. If they're not, then feel free to mark them on your own paper. Okay, so on a test or quiz or homework, if they give you information and those pieces are not marked congruent, then mark them congruent yourself, and that's fine. Okay, everybody have it all down? Statements and reasons. Yes.
For the given information, you don't need to put like MA.
Say it again. Say it again. That these two pieces are congruent.
Well, the MA.
That it's.
MA is congruent to MA.
Oh, that's not in the given information. We're going to put that down here because they won't ever give that to us. We need to write it down ourselves. It's kind of given because you can see it's like makes sense, but we still have to state it in our information.
It's not like a homework, so
On a proof?
no, the given.
Okay, here's the given information right here. This is all given, freebie information, and this is what we're trying to prove.
She's talking about is like when they put it on the statement side.
Like they mark it here?
No, like when they put it, like when they put like the AD is congruent to AC. They put it in that, like on that side with your fingers, and then they have the reason.
Is given.
Is given.
Yeah, that's correct. So we're going to do that now. So number one, I'm actually going to have you fill in blanks. If I fill in this side over here as given, what would you put on the left-hand side? Good. So write that down. Side AB is congruent to side AC. And what else? M is the midpoint of BC. Yes? Okay, number 2. I'm going to give to you MA, this is what was just said to me, is congruent to MA. Do not blurt it out, but write the reason why. Do not blurt it out, write the reason why. MA is congruent to MA. I'm going to go ahead and mark that now that we wrote that. MA is congruent to itself. And Ariana, can you tell me why it's congruent to itself? Perfect. She is correct. She said reflexive property. How many of you feel more comfortable with that one? We've used it enough by now. Okay. Number 3. I'm going to give you that. I'm actually going to give you the answer over here. I'm going to give you definition of midpoint. What can we conclude? What do you think would be given over here on side 3, this side here? What would be over here that we would have used definition of midpoint for? Or what can we conclude from the definition of midpoint? That what two sides are congruent?
Did it be, what two sides? Oh, BM and CM.
Do you guys agree with that? That because the definition of midpoint, these two pieces are also congruent. Yes or no? All right. Do I have enough to say the two triangles are congruent? All right, I want you to do that next on your own. What two triangles are congruent and why? I will start you off. I will do A and B. Triangle AMB is congruent, and you write the second one. I did this way. AMB. What direction would you go for the second one? I'm calling on Gabby. Okay, so I went A and B. What would you go for the second triangle? A, MC. All right, and I'm going to call, I want you guys to write the reason why, and I'm calling on Christina. Can you tell me why?
Is it side, side, side?
Did anybody get that on their own? Did anybody know it was side? Even if you didn't write it down yet, you saw that it was side, side, side. Good job. If not, you're writing it down now, and you're saying, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Good, good, good. Okay, now what's the problem with this one? At this point, people say, oh, I'm done. I proved the two triangles are congruent. Is that what I'm trying to prove? No. So I'm not done. Step 5 would be what? That angle AMB is congruent to angle AMC. Now I want you to think about why we're able to say that AMB, why can we say that this angle is congruent to this angle? Think about it. We just proved something. What can I use to say that those two angles are congruent? Yes?
Are they supplementary?
Well, they're supplementary does not necessarily mean they are congruent.
Oh,
They're supplementary but not congruent. Anyone else? It has to do with the big title in our notes. Yes? Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So that's the shortest of hand I will accept. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And you're thinking that's a long time. That is much better than writing all this down. Do you agree? Every single time you're doing a proof? No. This is enough. And I do not want to see just letters. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Even if your friend says, oh, I do CP, CTC in my class, you don't do it in this class. Got it? Any questions? Is that a yes? No? We're good? We still have a few more minutes. Can you guys please take out your packets? You keep your quizzes, you'll bring them with you when you do the retake. Did everybody hear that? You keep your quizzes, you bring them with you so I can see that you fix them the day you take the quiz next week. Was there a hand up? No? Okay.
I didn't.
Okay. Does everybody see that the first two are similar to what we did in our notes? This is where you do side, side. Yeah, we're looking on worksheet 4. The A is where you would put side, angle, side, or side, side, side. Part B is where you write the statement, and part C is where you write the corresponding parts. Does that make sense? And then 3 and 4 are what? 3 and 4 are proofs, and then that's it. Now, if you are struggling with the proofs, should you come in, go and see a friend and get some help? Yes. Okay. Can you guys turn this way to the page before, number 6 and 7? Can you guys turn your page to the page before, worksheet 3, number 6 and 7, quickly. Can I borrow yours, please?
Oh, mine.
Yes. Hurry, hurry, hurry. All right. Okay. Let me look at those. Okay. Yes. Is this one? All right. Guys, there was a, did we fix, you guys did not fix number 7 yet, right?
No.
So if you can go to worksheet 3.3 and fix number 7. Are you ready? Do you mind if I just fix yours?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. There should be a number 4 that says triangle GJK is congruent to triangle GMK. GJK triangle is congruent to triangle GMK. And then you fill it in. Got it? So this was the last one on worksheet 3. Did everybody fix it? Yes? When are we turning this in?
A day that is.
Tuesday. A day that is coming up, Tuesday. Yes, we'll be going over some. Yes. Yes. So on Tuesday we'll go over last night's and tonight's.
And then will you be in here at lunch on
Tuesday. I will be in here most lunches except for today.
I'm going to Hawaii for cross country.
That's exciting. I shouldn't say.
Yeah.
But
Can you just like go that way?
okay. So it's from the 7th.
You're still recording.
Oh no.